I'm Shivani Gupta. I'm obsessed with small to medium businesses growing. As business owners, we take so much risk and we want to make sure it's worth it. I believe one of the best presents you can give yourself as a business owner is to be able to learn how to scale your people, your profit, and your processes. Chapter 5 in Getting People to Step Up is about Shoshin. Shoshin is a Japanese word that talks about encouraging lifelong learning. Sho is the word that directly translates into open, and Shin translates into the word mind or heart. So we need an open mind or an open heart. And, one of the things I say to people anytime that I'm running a workshop or speaking is, if you're trying to learn something new, you need to have an open mind. I say this to my 2 teenagers. If you need to learn something, you need to have an open heart and an open mind. And I often give them the parable of a parachute, that for a parachute to open, to work, it's got to be open. So it's really important that when we come from different workplaces, we come in and we go, yes, I've already done that. No, that didn't work. Yes, we tried that before. And when you're looking at something that you might want to really create a little bit differently. So I wanted to start off with a parable that I share in the book, and I call that Hiroshi's Lessons. And one day, a group of villagers came and approached Hiroshi, and they were talking to him, as they saw him as a wise person in the village, as somebody, in terms of the secrets of happiness. And he said, sure, I'd be happy to teach you that. So he takes them to the river and he says, here's a teacup, and the teacup's like your mind. He says, if you hold a certain amount of tea, just your mind can hold a certain amount of knowledge. One of the things you've got to first do is empty it. I use that saying around Hiroshi when I'm talking about meditation. For me, when I meditate in the mornings, which I do every day, it empties my head. It creates more space to be creative. It creates more space for my mind to be able to do things. And he said that if you want to learn, you must really learn to empty the cup. You must really, embrace the Shoshin mentality. And that is often the start of what they happen to do. There are some people that I think, whether you like Elon Musk or not, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX and a number of other organizations, that and whether you see him as a visionary entrepreneur or a little bit crazy, I definitely think when I look at somebody like Elon Musk, that I look at him as somebody that's got a really amazing Shoshin mentality. He's very open to that. He learns from experts. He asks questions. He doesn't believe anything is a barrier in terms of what you actually need to do. And in the book, I also talk about some amazing global thought leaders that we know, that talks about, applying what I see, the Shoshin mentality, and who've displayed that very well. Tony Robbins talks about the fact that the path of success is to take massive determined action. And he talks about that, in his book. Simon Sinek, who's known for his purpose-driven leadership, says, don't buy people, don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And we've seen that amazing TED Talk. If you haven't, do yourself a favor and go and have a look at it. And I also interviewed some small to medium business owners that, Fiona Arnschel from Wholesome Belly, for example, talked about when you find great people, you want to continue and develop them, and you want to make sure that they have an open mindset. So we want to do that more and more. So I want to talk about some of the actions that you can take from this chapter, which is business leaders and owners. That's the practical thing that we want to do. So the first thing is, how do I create a culture of Shoshin? Well, as a business leader and owner, you've got to lead the way. You've got to approach each situation with that. You want to create an environment where people can learn and grow with you, and also be really clear about your intent and purpose. Constantly practice it, mix the capability of people together so that they can actually learn from each other as well. The other thing I talk about in the chapter is, and it's interesting, when I was writing the chapter, the whole ChatGPT stuff was just starting to come into play, whereas now it is come to another level and has moved so quickly. But we've got to, embrace technology, whether it's AI or whatever we end up calling it in the future, or ChatGPT. We've got to embrace technology. Sundar Pichai, who is CEO of Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, a couple of years ago, he said that AI is going to be the most important thing humanity is going to work on, and it is going to be more profound than electricity or fire. So for us to be able to embrace that in our small to medium businesses, knowing all the changes that are coming, we've got to embrace AI in terms of what we do. The other action that I talk about in the book is the fact that we've got to be open to doing an intergenerational workforce. What does that mean? Well, this is the first time in history that we've got 5 generations working in the business. We've got our veterans, our baby boomers, our Gen X, and millennials, and now the Gen Zs. And so it's important that each of them have different work ethics, different working styles, different learning styles. So one of the things that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to embrace that in our workplaces. We want to make sure that people with all those different levels of thinking can do that. In the book, I also talk about how I believe that Toyota applied Shoshin, because it's always talked about that continuous improvement. I had an opportunity to go to Japan when I was working in manufacturing to basically go and have a look at some of the way that they did things, and it's just absolutely extraordinary in terms of the lean manufacturing and what they were able to create. I also talk about Netflix in the book and how extraordinary it's been in terms of what the investments that Netflix has done to be able to maintain its market leadership. I know it's constantly being challenged by different things that are coming in, and I talk about a number of other examples. The other thing that I talk about is how do we actually test for Shoshin in the questions and reflections, which is as if you and I were sitting there having a one-on-one coaching session. So I hope that you've got that Shoshin mentality and what that means. I look forward to connecting with you, to finding out how you're practicing it, and look forward to getting your feedback on the book. I'm Shivani Gupta, and you've been listening to the Grow Your Business podcast. I hope you got one idea that you can think about or perhaps even implement straight away in your business. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Ask Shivani. Remember, I call it Ask Shivani, so please send me your questions that I can address in this podcast for you. And I would also so appreciate if you went to the Apple Podcast to rate and review this podcast.